Good morning. This is Pastor Tyrone P. Jones, Church for the City, Yuma, Arizona. I read an article 2 nights ago in The Federalist. It was written by Casey Chalk. The reason for the article was to give reasons on why less Americans are going to church in 2022. He cites a Gallup poll, which discovered for the first time in 80 years of surveys that Americans' membership in houses of worship has dropped below 50%. It's down 70% in our country for the number of people that belong to a church, a synagogue, or a mosque as recently as 1999. It was 73% when they first started doing these polls. Then he asked the question, why this terrible drop-off? A columnist from the Washington Post, Brian Broom, give reasons for the decline based on his own personal argument. He uses the worn and tired supposition of a supposedly loving God who would let so many children suffer. That's his best argument. He goes on to claim that the idea of eternal life is simply a way for people to skirt their fear of death or assuage the pain of grief. He argues that people try to find the religion or idea of God that best suits them and their personal desires, and it's often absent of truth. He bemoans those who use religion to shame and demonize or for self-serving purposes. He ends up asserting that fear is the root of much religious conviction. This, according to Broom, is why church membership is in the pits. Let me say, yes, it's true some people exploit or leverage religion for all kinds of selfish and self-serving purposes, but that hardly refutes religion or God's existence. You can find people who exploit and leverage just about everything for selfish and self-serving purposes, from romance to politics to education to social justice. As Chalk says, the misuse of a thing doesn't negate its goodness, or otherwise we might as well throw love, government, schools, and social services for the poor in the rubbish bin. End of quote. There are many reasons a good, omnipotent, and loving God would permit suffering, even on a grand scale. For starters, if God is serious about free will, that means he's not going to violate human volition simply because someone is about to hurt another person. Otherwise, we'd all be robots. Secondly, God may be willing to permit suffering so humans can demonstrate more profound and wonderful qualities such as courage, prudence, temperance, or justice. One cannot be courageous unless an evil threatens him. There is so much more I can say to that. But back to the question, are people really leaving the church? For some, yes. Factors among many include COVID-19 restrictions, which easily convince some folks to live without worship gatherings. And people's independent pursuits of spirituality is another cause. But I can tell you at CTC here in Yuma, there is no decline. As a matter of fact, we've grown more in these last 2 years and even larger than ever before. Can I suggest it to you why? Contemplating the life and death of Christ for my sins to be forgiven and my heart to be healed, my spirit renewed, and my soul saved is enough reason for me to come back to the house of God. Given Americans are more depressed than ever, which is especially true of the nuns who have no religious affiliation, we can already perceive how foolhardy it is to abandon religion. In our desperate search for autonomy and self-realization, we find only dead ends that leave us empty. The answer, contrary to what Broom is saying, is not to dig in our heels and assert our independence in the face of our brokenness. We must look for a healer who knows and can redeem our plight. He awaits us in a transformative encounter within the walls of Christian churches across our nation. God bless you.